It's all about allowing ourselves to feel. I've overcomplicated it. It's so easy to overcomplicate, but I've got this notion, which is what I've had from the beginning of all this, that it's all about self-expression. It's all about letting ourselves feel. That's the only place we ever get stuck in anything, is not allowing a feeling to be felt in the moment. And there's all kinds of reasons, there's all kinds of stories that the mind tells, that the net result of is not allowing ourselves to feel. We don't need to know the reason. We don't need to know why we're doing it. We don't need to unpack all this stuff of, oh, well, in childhood, this, that, and whatever, A, B, and C, and now I'm a people pleaser and this, and none of that is the important part. The only thing that matters is noticing in the moment, am I allowing feeling to flow, or am I blocking it? And if you're blocking it, then you take some steps to allow it to flow. That's it. You don't need to know why you're blocking it. You don't need to unpack all of that shit. You don't need to unpack that baggage. You can just ditch the baggage completely. It's all just about paying attention to yourself, to the sensation. That's why it's a feeling journey. We spend so much time in the mind, and the mind can't feel. When we're thinking, we're not feeling, so we're automatically sort of blocking feeling from flowing when we're inhabiting the mind space. And then the trap is we start thinking about that, thinking, oh my God, I'm stopping myself from feeling, or I'm just stuck in this. One of the ways that we stop ourselves from feeling is asking why we're feeling, is trying to figure out, why am I feeling this? That's blocking the feeling of it. That is a subtle way of disallowing the flow of that emotion. And it's a trap. It's just conditioning. It's just a habit. Again, we don't have to unwind all of the why and the where and how did we pick this up. None of that matters. It's just noticing, oh, I'm doing that thing again. I'm doing that thing that I sometimes do that stops myself from feeling. So in this moment that I've noticed it, I have the power, I have the ability to make a choice right now. And that choice is to stop thinking. That choice is to stop analyzing the emotion, to stop trying to figure it out, where it's coming from, why it's there. None of that is necessary. None of that is relevant. All of it just stands in the way of that emotion flowing. So it's noticing, I'm keeping myself out of the feeling because I'm up here in the mind space. Now that I've noticed, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take some deep breaths. I'm going to maybe go outside if I can. If I can't, I'm going to find myself alone somewhere. I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm going to go to a corner, whatever it is. Maybe I'm surrounded by people. There's nowhere I can go. I'm going to create a space around myself that is my space. I'm going to ground right here. I'm going to focus on feeling. I'm going to become very aware that I've been putting all of this energy into thinking, and when I'm thinking, I'm not feeling. So now I'm going to feel. Now I'm going to feel. I'm going to ask the mind, I'm going to ask the ego to step aside for this, because it's not involved in this process. It can just be a witness. Right now, we're feeling. We're going to feel into the earth. We're going to feel our feet on the ground. Maybe the first thing I'm going to do is, I've probably been labeling this sensation or I've been trying to put a label on it, one way or the other. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is I'm going to stop trying to label it. And if I've put a label on it, I'm going to ditch the label. Maybe I've called it anxiety or guilt or anger, whatever I've called it. I'm going to just ease off of that label and say, maybe there's more here. Maybe there's something that I haven't seen. And ultimately, the truth is, all it is sensation. This is just sensation. I've called it something, I've given it a label, and inadvertently I've put it in a box in doing so, and kind of pulled myself out of the experience of it, the direct knowing of it. So let me just step outside of that box, realizing that it's happened. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just realizing. I'm letting go of the label, and I'm inviting the sensation to be experienced directly, to flow fully through me, and I'm going to feel it directly. Instead of thinking about it, I'm just going to feel it, and I'm going to recognize all this is sensation. So let me sense it. Let me take some breaths. Let me move the energy, move your awareness from up in the head, because it tends to stay located there between the eyes in the middle of the brain space. That's why that space is active so much. So move your awareness into the body. Some people like to move it into the higher mind. That's effective. I like to move it into the heart. You can move it lower. You can move it into the sacral chakra, the root, wherever feels good to you. I like to move it into the heart, so that's what I do, is I focus on my chest. I focus on what is the feeling inside of my heart. And from there, from just holding my awareness there, I start to notice, what are the other sensations? What is the sensation that I can feel right now? What is my body feeling? Where do I feel it? What does it feel like? Do I feel a tingling? Where is it located? Is it in my chest? Is it lower? Is it in my extremities? Maybe I feel it in my fingers. Maybe I feel it more on one side specifically. What is the quality of that sensation? What's the texture of that feeling? Does it feel rough? Does it feel smooth? Does it have a coolness or a warmth to it? Does it have a sound? Does it have a taste? Is there some way that it sort of appears in my mind where I'm not trying to visualize it, but as I'm feeling into it, I sort of get this image of maybe rain or a stream or a nature path, or maybe it's something more rudimentary like a sphere. Maybe I just see a sphere. When I'm feeling the ego, I very often see a sort of semi-transparent gray, black pair of shapes. There's a triangle and there's a square, and they sort of blend together. That's just what I see. There's no right or wrong seeing or feeling. It's just, that's how you're feeling into this, and you're really focusing on the feeling. So now we've dropped the label, we've moved it out of the mind space, we've grounded the energy, we're allowing the energy to flow, and we're paying attention. We are fully focused on the sensation itself. That's allowing that energy to express fully. Now we're not keeping it in a box, we're not restricting it in any way, and we're just feeling it, and feeling it intensely. And notice how intense it feels, and stay with the sensation. And if you feel yourself being pulled somewhere, if you feel yourself moving up into the mind, if the mind starts to kind of chatter again, if it's starting to analyze, just notice again that the energy sort of shifted up here. We're starting to think instead of feel. That's okay. We just bring it back down. We take a really big, slow, conscious breath. We feel it move through us. We ground again. It's just a repeating of this process. We're just going to sit in this feeling, and we're going to feel it fully. We're going to fill the entirety of this present moment with this sensation. This is what's here. This is everything that's here, is this feeling. So we're just going to be in it, and we're going to feel it and let it express through us. And I really believe that that's all it takes. That's all we ever have to do. We don't have to understand any part of it. And it's important too not to get caught up in this process. There's no way to do it wrong. So don't worry about doing it right. All you do is you notice if you're thinking more than feeling, and when you do notice, you bring the focus, you bring the awareness back into feeling. That's it, again and again and again. And the grounding part is so important because it helps stabilize, it helps neutralize, it helps us feel more acutely. Instead of just sort of being electrocuted and overwhelmed by the sensation, it's flowing all the way through us. So we get more detail in it. We notice more nuance. And that's it. You don't need to label it. You don't need to understand it. The brain is not a part of this process. It's just not. And we don't need to know why we've disallowed ourselves from feeling a feeling. It is more than enough to know that we're doing it, to notice, and then say, in this moment, I'm going to feel it. Whatever's here, I'm going to feel it. You're allowed to feel it. It's not a problem. It's not something you need to fix. That's everything that the mind will say. It's trying to find a way out of it because it thinks it's a problem. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. It's not even a bad sensation. It doesn't have to be unpleasant. It's just the characterization of it that makes it so in our perception, the judgment of it. And when we call it something like anger or anxiety, that activates all of this other vibration of judgment. We don't need any of that. We can just put that down. We can just put the mind down entirely. It's not a part of the feeling experience. Step out of the mind into the body and just feel what's there. And don't even think about it as emotion, again, because you're not trying to label it, you're not trying to understand it, you're just feeling it. So feel how it feels inside your body. Where is it? Feel it as if you were holding something. You're holding energy right now. That's what you're doing. You're touching it directly. So sense it with all of the same senses that you would a physical object. You're just doing it internally. It's exactly the same. You're feeling the inside of your body the same way that you would feel with the outside of your body. It has texture. It has very distinct sensation. Just notice what it is and describe it to yourself. That's it. Out loud if you want to. That helps me tremendously. That's why I make all of these videos, because doing this out loud really helps me to focus and get into that space, to get out of the head and into the heart. So that's it. That's it. We can live our entire life experiences here from a place other than the mind. We really don't need the mind for hardly anything. 99.9% of life we don't need the mind for. It's just, we can stay in the heart all the time and just feel what we're feeling. And then energy doesn't get stuck. But even if it does get stuck, guess what? It's still there. You always have another chance to feel it. So no harm, no foul. There's nothing that can go wrong here. There is literally nothing that can go wrong. Just feel what's here. You're safe to feel it. You are allowed. It doesn't matter why you've disallowed it. You're allowed. Just keep reminding yourself, I am allowed to feel this, and I'm going to feel it right now. Every time I notice it, I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to feel it. That's the whole journey. I love you.